My name is Allie. Welcome to Allie's Annotation. Now let's talk about some books. These books, to be precise. Last weekend, I had the opportunity to do a preview of an upcoming independent bookstore crawl called the Fall Colors Tour. This bookstore crawl is being hosted on the North Shore in Minnesota, which is absolutely beautiful in the fall, thus the name. And you can visit one of 8 amazing bookstores that are all coming together to help you find some amazing reads for autumn. This weekend, I got to visit 7 of these 8 bookstores, and I got some books. So let's go through, see the books that I got, and I'll show you a little bit about what I loved about these bookstores as well. To get started, let's crack a crispy Diet Coke. Cheers. My first stop for the day was in Two Harbors, Minnesota at Back 40 Books. This bookstore was amazing. First up, don't let the name fool you. This bookstore is not golf themed or not even nonfiction themed. I was shocked at how enormous this place is on the inside. I expected something just like a super teeny little bookstore, but no. This place has a mix of new and used books, with new books being all up toward the front. You can see that I found the fantasy nook fairly quickly, and then used books all along the back of the bookstore. So up front, they have a couple of tables with like some highlighted newer releases, which I really appreciated because on this trip, I was specifically looking for a couple of newer releases that I wanted to have on my shelves that I maybe read as ARCs. But then you get to really dive in when you get toward the back. They did have some giftables that, for the most part, were all locally made, which was really, really cool to see. But it was just a treasure hunt. I loved their series that they had packaged up for you. I did end up picking up a used book. I, of course, had to get a candle because have you met me? And the owner was so, so nice. We loved this first stop of the tour. At this first bookstore, I grabbed 3 books. Unfortunately, my average cost per bookstore was a lot higher than I would hope it would be. First, I checked out the used book section of this bookstore, and I grabbed a copy of The Stand-In by Lily Chu. I think the cover of this is really cute, and I'm a sucker for romances, and honestly, like, get fired by boss, fail to do laundry, again, that's me. Fall head first into a glitzy new world. Like, this seems like a case of mistaken identity, and I'm gonna love it. I know I am. So I also see that in the book there are like some screenshots of an iPad, and I love anything that's got a little bit of like a mixed media. So I'm really excited to dive into this. And honestly, I love finding books used because it just means that somebody else got to give it a life, and now I get to give it a life, and then I get to pass it on as well, which is really cool. The second book that I grabbed at Back 40 Books is A Letter from the Lonesome Shore. And so I actually read the first book in this duology, A Letter to the Luminous Deep by Sylvie Cattrall, and I loved it. It's the Sunken Archive duology, and I read the first book as an ARC, and it is so cool. This duology is written in words. This duology is written in an epistolary style, meaning exclusively in the form of letters. And it's amazing. I don't know how Sylvie Cattrall did it, but I loved the first book. I am so looking forward to reading this one. I'm so attached to these characters. The first book follows both letters from the 2 main characters who go missing, who have gone missing. We are reading their letters in arrears. And it's letters between our 2 present day characters who are exploring the mystery of their missing siblings, their disappearance. It is just, it grabs your heart because you are reading from the perspective of these characters that you know have gone missing. You are like, it's sad, but at the same time, there's so much like wistfulness, and the relationships between them are adorable. And I loved the first book. So I'm so, so, so excited to read this. The last book that I grabbed from Back 40 Books is Catabasis, because I saw this and I'm like, hell yeah. I actually did already get a copy of Catabasis, but I don't like the cover of it. It's a different special edition. So I'm going to be replacing it with this one, and I will absolutely take the existing one and make sure that it gets to a home that will love it. This copy also It has these end papers, very academic, very hell. And I'm just obsessed. I just love them. I am very into kind of an academic read. I'm very into the idea that books should be teaching us something. When I was growing up reading, the reason that I have kind of an expansive vocabulary is because I read books all the time. I read books that were a little above my reading level, and I learned from that. I've seen multiple people annotate this as they go along, and I will definitely be doing that because I love that R.F. Kuang books are an opportunity for me to learn because she writes at a high level, and I'm so excited for that. In case you're not familiar, Catabasis itself is the story of two college students whose professor goes to hell, presumably, and they, even though they are not besties, they team up to go and retrieve their professor. The word catabasis literally means a descent into hell, and so we've got, you know, the imagery of a staircase going down, etc. So this is going to be really, really exciting for me. I don't know where I'm going to put all these after I talk about them. My office is a mess. On my little bookstore tour here, the next one that I visited, I went from Two Harbors, Minnesota, all the way around to Superior, Wisconsin. We decided to just take this route because it was most efficient for us. But I visited Foxes and Fireflies, and oh my gosh, so cute. Foxes and Fireflies is housed in an old post office building. So it has some really cool architecture points, but look at this place. It is so bright and welcoming, and honestly, like, I'm going to say the word cute 18 times in this video. We loved the selection here. I will point out that in my opinion, personally, it seems like the vast majority of their displays were along the fantasy and romance genres. So although they do have all genres represented on their shelves, a lot of their displays are definitely geared toward fantasy lovers, which, as a fantasy lover myself, I loved finding a ton of books that I was interested in. I did grab several that were actually on display. I think they really did a nice job of curating those displays for us. And then they had giftables in like every single corner of this place, which if you know me, you know that I have to pick up a little gifty thing everywhere that I go, especially things like stickers or pins, which they did have a pin display in here. They also had some books that were on sale, on clearance, out toward the back of their shop. They have this like clearance shelf here. But then they said, hey, do you want to see something really cool? And we were like, yes. So we went back to the vaults. I did grab a book on the way because, of course, I did. I saw one that I had to have. But they asked us if we wanted to see the original post office vaults, which they've kept intact in this building. It's actually where they do a little bit of storage. So back in their conference room or their back room for the store, they let us take a look and open those original vaults. The doors were super heavy. And this is where they do a lot of their book storage for any time that they get new shipments in. And it was awesome. At the end, you get to pick out a little reading log bookmark, so we all got to do that, and this was just such a little fun stop on our trip. We really, really enjoyed it here. First, from Foxes and Fireflies, I grabbed a sticker. It's a little tarot card that says The Reader, and that's so cute. It's going on my water bottle in all haste. There's some space right there. It'll fit. I'll find room for it, for sure. And then with every purchase, you can grab a reading log bookmark, which I think is going to be perfect for the next traveling book club that I do. If you are interested in doing a traveling book club that is fantasy themed, comment below. Let me know because I would love to start one. The first book that I picked up from Foxes and Fireflies is When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. Veronica Roth is one of my favorite authors. She is the one who wrote the Divergent series, but she has also written the Carve the Mark duology. She's written a couple of novellas. She's written Poster Girl, and I really, really love her writing. And this is one of her little baby novellas, and she has another one launching at the time of recording this tomorrow. So I wanted to grab a physical copy of this, and then I will be listening to the ALC of the second book, which is To Clutch a Razor. When Among Crows is a Slavic folklore retelling with Demeter, who is a monster hunter, needing to team up with a monster, Amma, to find the legendary witch Baba Yaga. And so it is a short novella, but I love. I love. Next up, I have seen this book absolutely everywhere. It is Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Truelove. This is a book that was published through Easy Cat Press through Bindery. I love Bindery's model. I love Easy Cat Press. And so I am really excited to dive into this because honestly, that's a recommendation I'll trust with my life. Now, you might know about me that I am a little bit of a baby when it comes to horror. Once upon a time, my husband put on the movie Us and had to turn it off because I was crying too hard. October is kind of a tough month for me. Of Monsters and Mainframes, however, kind of is a blend of cult horror and like sci-fi, and it tells the story of a spaceship named Demeter. And Demeter her job is to ferry passengers between Earth and the star Alpha Centauri. And her passengers start dying because of Dracula. And she has to put together basically this team of paranormal monsters to fight Dracula. And she's a spaceship. So I expect that this is going to be just wholly unique. And I'm really excited. This is also going to be a really, really good October read, I think. Next up, from Foxes and Fireflies, it's Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kemmerer. Bridget Kemmerer is going to be at the Fables and Flames Romantasy Gala that's hosted in Minnesota that I will be at. And so I'll get to meet her. And so I really want to check out one of her books. This is actually Bridget Kemmerer's, I believe it's her adult fantasy debut. So also just bonus for being a debut novel of hers. And this cover, this style of cover, whenever they have like just the big bold typeface with something that is relatively monochrome, like obviously it's like foiled, but when it's shiny, you can see that it's a monochrome with the background. Anyway, I digress. The cover gets me. Warrior Princess Assassin does not refer to a singular person. There's a warrior, a princess, and an assassin. I believe this has polyam representation in it. I'll figure out and I'll report back. But it is very much like a reluctant lover's assassin's supposed to kill them, but does he want to? Tension between characters, romance all over the place in a fantasy setting. I think I'm going to like this. The last book from Foxes and Fireflies is Silver Cloak by L.K. Stephen. I have heard amazing things about this book. Multiple people I've seen have been reviewing it that I've seen that I trust the reviews of. So I'm expecting that I'm really going to like this. Silver Cloak is the story of a woman whose parents are killed by this order. And so in order to bring justice to them, she lies her way into their academy to take them down from the inside. And in order to do so, she has to participate in a lot of the, atrocity, horrific things that they do. And so this sounds action-packed. This sounds like an intense character that I'm going to get to know, and I've just heard amazing things. So I'm really excited to dive into this. The next bookstore on our tour is actually a mobile bookstore. Crow & Co. Books, it's this little bag icon there, was being hosted the day that I visited at Bent Paddle Brewing, which, as a Minnesotan who loves craft beer, I've been to Bent Paddle a time or two. I have had lots of Bent Paddle beer in my life, and I really like it, so bonus. And this is a mobile bookstore with, let me tell you, an incredible selection.
Even though Crow & Co. is just a few tables set up in Bent Paddle, which was for this trip, they do travel around to other locations. I am just wildly impressed by the extensive display here. I saw books at this location that I have never seen in any other bookstores. They also had such a depth of queer representation in their books, and you can just tell how intentionally and thoughtfully curated the entire selection is. Even the little giftables here, you can see had like really great queer rep, which I really enjoyed. Overall, I'm just super impressed. My best friend picked out several books that she loved, and we got to chat with the owner a little bit, and it was just a really enjoyable stop on this overall bookstore tour for us. We will definitely be back.
I didn't end up picking any books up at this location just because I already have multiple books that I loved there, but I couldn't resist getting a little bookmark here. it says antisocial book club. And despite the fact that I'm not antisocial, I am a sucker for purpley lilac and holographic. So I still had to grab it. The sun has just suddenly decided to come out. So I guess it's a lot brighter now. So great. You can see my roots better. The next bookstore we hit was at Zenith Books in Duluth. This is a bookstore that did have some used books, but they also had a ton of new books. And their bookstore was huge.
Zenith Books is located in West Duluth, and the exterior of this building is incredible. They have a large mural, and then the entire front of the bookstore is painted to look like a stack of books on a bookshelf. Adorable! So cute! And enormous. This building is just, it's huge. And it was packed in here. Even though the bookstore is gigantic, there were so many people moving around. They had a ton of books on their front table, and I really liked that they had pretty much every genre represented on this front table really well. And then they also had a great selection of local Minnesota authors, which was really nice. I, of course, had to go find their fantasy shelves, which went up to basically the ceiling. It was kind of overwhelming, honestly, and I picked up a couple of different books from this area. I, of course, had to take a look at the special editions of the Poppy War. If anybody wants to get me a birthday present, it's those. And I've also really been meaning to read The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, so I'm thinking about it. I didn't grab this one today, but I definitely thought about it. Eventually, I finally made my way over to the romance section. It was a little tough to move around because it was so crowded, but once I got over, I got to take a look around. I got to see several books that I already have on my shelves, like Looking for Group by Alexis Hall. I'm going to be reading this one soon. But finally, I found Love is a War Song by Danica Nava. I've been looking for this in bookstores since it launched, and I've had the hardest time finding it. And they also had her other book, The Truth According to Ember, and I am just so excited because I've been wanting to read these. I just have not been able to find them, and so yay, got them from an independent bookstore, and they definitely came home with me. Zenith also had a strong selection of just trinkets and gifts. They had great notebooks. They had pottery made by local artists, which was really cool. Of course, candles. And then they have these pencils. This one says Book Slut, and it's purple. And I really regret not grabbing it because that is very much my brand. I also took a look at their stickers. I love seeing my little Pan Pride sticker wherever I can find it. And overall, this stop, we had a great time. After talking with others, everyone seemed to agree that this was one of the best bookstores of the day.
At Zenith, first, I grabbed both of Danica Nava's novels. I have been seeing these all over. I've been seeing her posts about them, and I've been so interested, but I have not been able to find them at a lot of bookstores. So I'm very glad that I was able to find not only Love is a War Song, her more recent release, but also The Truth According to Ember. I am so excited to get into both of these. The Truth According to Ember follows main character Ember, who, after struggling to get a call back for some interviews when she sends out resumes as her, actual Indigenous identity, she spices up her resume a little bit and makes it sound as though she's white. And she immediately gets a job in accounting because, of course, accounting is shitty like that. And she begins working at this job, and she finds a fellow Indigenous man who looks good, and they enter some compromising situations, and we follow their journey together as they navigate that. Love is a War Song is honestly, it's a little bit like Hannah Montana, the movie vibes to me. So it follows pop star Avery, a Native American pop star who needs a break from things, and so she goes back to her grandmother's ranch, and there's someone there who despises everything that, the pop star life is about, but I don't think he despises Avery. And so this is just 13-year-old Allie. I'm going to love it. I'm going to love this. The last book that I grabbed at Zenith Bookstore is Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. I have a goal this year. I'm doing Herkyed, which is the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And one of the prompts that I designed for myself is challenging me to read more subgenres that I might not normally read, which is horror. I am not a horror fan. I don't do scaries. I don't do scary movies. I don't do scary books. I don't do scaries at all. And so this is a horror romance. And so I'm going to try this. And my bestie who came on the trip with me, Kayla, I will give this to her once I'm done with it because horror is right up her alley. Alley, get it? It's a joke. It's a little pun for you. Our next bookstore on the tour is Amazing Alonzo. Amazing Alonzo is like this little bookstore that is stacked to the max.
So what exactly makes Amazing Alonzo Bookstore stacked? Let's find out. They have a great selection of new and used books. The new ones are more up toward the front here. Oh, hi, Eric. And most of the used books are toward the back. But the back of the bookstore is not what you think it is back here. I looked into this room and I was like, okay, little bookstore. And then I noticed a little hallway off to the back left here. And as you walk into this hallway, you'll see another room. And I thought that was it. I turned around and I didn't realize that like the other half of the bookstore goes back here. There's another hallway off that room. So they had so many books and they were all organized really well. It was easy to find what I was looking for. I also really loved that next to their new books, they highlighted a bunch of community-made zines. Zines are amazing for engaging in community and especially in engaging in community justice. It's a great way to connect with local folks who are writing, and I definitely had to pick one up. I also found a little Octavia Butler display because I love her. If you're not reading Octavia Butler, why? Why not? Anyway, I really enjoyed shopping here. I did end up grabbing a couple things because I had to, and my friend Kayla did as well.
The main owner of Amazing Alonzo also designed this, so hats off. First, from Amazing Alonzo, I grabbed a zine. I love zines. I love when bookstores have zines available. So I grabbed a Neurodivergent Pride zine. I am autistic, I have ADHD, and so I just love learning about other people's experiences with neurodiversity. I love any zines in general that apply to me, so I picked this one up. And this one has comics, so I'm gonna love it. In the depths of the Amazing Alonzo's romance stacks, I found 2 Lisa Kleypas novels. I have heard amazing things about Lisa Kleypas's historical romance, so I really wanted to pick some up. I grabbed Marrying Winterborn and then also Love in the Afternoon. So I'm just excited to have these on my shelf. I'm excited to take a read through them. I have been exploring historical romance a little bit more lately, and I've just heard great things about hers. So who doesn't love a mass market paperback? Not me. I do love them. In the clearance bin, I found a copy of To Ride Pegasus by Anne McCaffrey for $1. Love that. I am working through, I want to read Anne McCaffrey and Robin Hobb more at the end of this year and into next year. So I've been starting to acquire some books, and how am I supposed to say no when it's $1? I don't know what you want me to do. I have to buy it. Sorry. Not sorry, but you wouldn't say no either. The last book that I picked up at Amazing Alonzo's Books was a Kimberly Lemming novel from her Mead Mishaps series. Kimberly is also going to be at Fables and Flames in November, and so I want to be reading her books. I've always had her books on my TBR, so now it's time. I got drunk and yeeted a love potion at a werewolf, and I grabbed this second one because I do already have the first one on my bookshelf somewhere. So I need to get reading these, and I know I'm going to love them. I'm fully aware that I'm going to love these. We did also go to Chester Creek Bookstores right here on the map. And Chester Creek was honestly a little overwhelming, but also incredible.
Chester Creek is a book and an antique store that specializes in used books, and it's located in an old church. Hello, I worship at the altar of books, and this is the place I want to be. I don't even know how to describe how full of books this building is. All of the shelves are arranged really organically. So they're not in like rows or columns, but rather they're stacked in these winding alleys, and there is signage around so that if you're looking for a particular genre or type of book, you can refer to the signage, and then the folks at the desk will totally be more than willing to help you too. I asked where I could find fiction books, fiction paperbacks,
And they said to follow the purple brick road, so I did. After passing by several of the antiques that they sell, I found myself going down into the basement. In here, you can see that they are putting books in every nook and cranny, including on the staircase. Downstairs, they had multiple other rooms with different genres. They had a great room full of kids' books from as old as like the 1850s. And it was just so, so cool to see. I could have spent probably a lot more time in here. But I did eventually find my fiction book section, and we took a look around there. There's some great classics that they have. My favorite, honestly, was the shelf of horse girl books. So if you're a horse girl, they got you covered. Overall, I just thought that this was a beautiful space to be in that honestly kind of felt a little bit reverent, and that was really, really cool. Chester Creek is described on the back of this pamphlet as a vast used bookstore. This is the understatement of the century. While I didn't end up getting any books there because, again, I was a little bit overwhelmed, this is the place to go if you want to pop in some noise-canceling headphones and hunt for books for like hours. The last stop on my preview day for the Fall Colors tour was at Fitger's. Fitger's is this giant building that has an inn, a restaurant, a brew pub, a bookstore, but it also is home to a ton of other small shops. So when you enter, you walk through kind of honestly like a little mall. And we ended up going to both the bookstore and the brew pub for dinner with the whole crew of Bookstagrammers who went to explore the Fall Colors crawl. At Fitger's, we parked in the parking ramp, which did mean that we were on the opposite end of the building from the bookstore, but it means we got to walk through all of these amazing shops. I think that the team at Fitger's has done an amazing job curating so many local businesses that really bring a community vibe to this space. I loved seeing all of these little stores, and I think you might too. Eventually, we did get to the bookstore, and this place was packed with books, with people, you name it. This place was absolutely hopping. I didn't even get to that room on the right. It was so full. What I really, really loved about Fitger's bookstore was that they've also brought in, not necessarily knickknacks, but they've brought in so many giftable items that really represent Minnesota. And as someone who's from this state, it's really nice to see. If you are wanting to make a trip to Minnesota and love books, I think the North Shore would be a great choice, especially because you have places like this that represent us so well. We got to say hello to this little puppy friend, and I did look at books, of course. I had to be good, though. I had already purchased so many this day, but I think they had a really awesome selection. I liked that they had like little displays for fall books to get you in the mood for some cozy vibes. I think they had so many books that I knew had come out recently that I'd been looking for, and that was so, so appreciated. I only picked up 2, and I'm really, really proud of myself, y'all. I think I did really good. Of course, I had to take a look at some stickers and some pins before we finally checked out and went out to dinner. I want to give a big shout out to Jennifer at Fitger's because she's the one who helped put this trip together for us, and we are really, really grateful. Thanks, Jennifer. Then we headed off to dinner with the rest of the crew who came on this trip, and it was just a really great way to end the day, saying hi to everyone and eating some awesome food. First, I picked up Which You Would. This looks like the perfect October little romance read, but it sounds so cute. It takes place in Miami, not our Miami, a Miami where there's magic. Magic Miami, if you will. And it features our main character, Penelope, who has been chosen to compete on like a magical reality TV series that kind of sounds like Dancing with the Stars, except it's like spellcasting with the stars, where you are paired with a celebrity and you have to compete in spellcasting. And so she's paired with this celebrity who she can't stand because online he's just like goofy prank spells. He doesn't like have actual skills. But he turns out is actually her pen pal and she doesn't realize it. But for the show, he has to be in this character, and so she doesn't recognize him and sparks will fly. I didn't make up that cheesy pun. That's literally on the back of the book. The last book that I grabbed at Fitger's and for the day is A Fate Forged in Fire by Hazel McBride. I have already read this book and I love this book. A Fate Forged in Fire is one of the books that I read as an ARC earlier this year, and I loved it. Hazel is currently working on writing the next book in this she already wrote the next book in this duology, We just haven't been blessed with it yet. And she's currently working on writing the next duology in this series. It's a series of interconnected duologies. Based around a lot of Scottish folklore, we follow Amira, who is the secret undercover princess of Tirtiene, and it follows her growing into her identity and a ton of politics in this area. And it's very much like a woman stepping into her power, which I really enjoyed. And I loved it. There's dragons, there's Scottish folklore. There's love interest. Am I easy to please? Maybe. But I loved this book. I can't wait for the next ones to come out. I've been looking for a copy to put on my bookshelf, and boy, oh boy, I found it. So I'm so excited to have this.
I am so glad that I went on this trip, and I just think it's such a great opportunity to explore the North Shore area, to explore Duluth, which I've lived in Minnesota my whole life, and I have not really gotten to see that much of Duluth before. And honestly, supporting local indie bookstores now more than ever. I also happen to think that northern Minnesota is maybe the most beautiful area on the planet. I'm just a little bit biased, but I really think that it's just such a great opportunity to explore. And it's beautiful. If you are interested in going on this tour too, you're in luck because it starts this weekend, September 27th, all the way through October 12th. You can simply go to any one of the 8 bookstores listed in the description or the ones that you see on the pamphlet here and pick a bookstore to go to. You can go in any order. You can go to as many as you'd like. But if you make it to 4 or more of the bookstores, you can enter to win a bookish grand prize that's provided by all of the shops and 25% off an item of your choosing. But at each individual bookstore, you can grab a stamp and there will be discounts there too. I highly recommend. I had an amazing time. And if you're going to go, why not go with your friends? I made this a little bestie book weekend because I don't get to see my best friend that often, and it was just so much fun. We had a great time, and it really was just an opportunity to hang out together that we don't get very often. I loved it.
If there's any books that I picked up on my preview for the Fall Colors Tour, let me know below if you've loved them and what you're most excited for me to read. And then if you have any questions about the tour, let me know. I'd love to answer them, and I'd love to see you supporting Minnesota bookstores.